Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Running in Circles podcast. In today's episode, we have two faces who the podcast is familiar with. Joining for the fourth season, I guess, is Vishnu.
Uh, Hi Pallav, it's nice to be here, especially after watching India win the World Cup. Lots
Yes,
to talk about, I guess.
yes, you gave a introduction to the episode already. I will get into that, but let us first introduce Vidyuth as well.
Hey everyone. It's nice to be back again. And well, the only difference is I didn't watch the World Cup. So,
That's okay, but the thing that going to talk about today is, as Vishnu said, India just won the World T20 in US and West Indies, and today we'll be talking about how sports is more than just entertainment, and how sports inspires, builds like a culture that people can support and people can talk about. So to start off the conversation, how do you think sports helps create cultures with you?
I mean, it's pretty much obvious even when you think about it from a historical standpoint. There are, if you think about it philosophically, sports is just a way for people to get together and uh, you know s- try to get a competitive spirit alive, right?
Hmm.
Albeit it was also used for things like exert dominance before, but now it's
What
not
do you
the
mean?
same. I mean, there used to be sports, at least historically, sports used to be something that used to determine the outcome of kingdoms, whether they
Okay.
how they go forward, at least not complete annexation and things like that, but at least it used to give a status for that kingdom. They used to be like, oh, okay, this kingdom is good in this sport, so we have to give them a lot more respect. But in general, it used
Hmm.
to be a thing of, okay, people come together and there used to be some sort of competitive uh, environment,
Hmm.
and it used to build that. And then more more rightfully, it's a festival of, I mean, I know I go from something that's as in one end of the spectrum, which is annexation, but right now
Yeah,
in more recent times it's more of a festival of just
like a
uh,
celebration.
yeah, festival for people to just come out and enjoy the uh, enjoy the competitive spirit that takes place. So yeah, sports builds a culture as
Hmm.
cultures develop, I suppose.
Yeah.
And from generations to generations, I guess the same I guess it keeps evolving.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think similarly, if sports is like very similar to fiction in a way, like Harry Potter, for example, it has four houses like Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and so on and so forth. So it's the same as that, like um whatever sport it may be, it has divided into teams, and every, like, whoever follows that sport, they sort of root for their favorite team to win, and that sort of creates like a sense of belonging, a sense of competitive spirit, and like, again, like, it doesn't exist, it's not a living entity, it's just like an organization who's just running the team. But because so many people believe that they want to see their team win, there's so much what do you say, faith, there's so much belief in that particular team. And not just team, it can be a city also, like so many cities, usually cities have teams, right? It may be in NBA, it may be in cricket, it may be in football. um, so if you're from one city, by default you sort of want that city to win. By default you're rooting for that city to win. And also teams have impact on like the surroundings that they play in. Like whenever there's any game going on in the city, So many people gather, so many people spend money to buy tickets, they spend money on travel, they spend money on what do you say, on eating and things like that. So um, all these things do help create a culture for that city or for that team. And that's what I think. That's what I think, that sports is, of course, like,
Yep.
as there is one aspect of competitiveness, but there's also like the other aspect, that it creates a culture for that particular team. What do you think,
Hmm.
Vishnu?
Yeah. And but talking about the culture of sports, like as you guys said, the main thing is bringing people together, and an even more important aspect of that is bringing together people who might like be very different in terms of how they think and all that, but just want their one team to win, and that's really amazing.
I
And
Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I mean, I guess that's what you're trying to exactly put is, well, it's best represented by, I guess, today's game, right? We had people who are fighting over within the country when
Yeah,
during the IPL, and now they are singing praises for the same people who actually lifted. I'm assuming who lifted the team to victory. So
uh,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. I guess who you're thinking of is Hardik Pandya, right? Like everyone was
yep.
Not
like,
just Hardik Pandya, even Virat Kohli.
yeah, I mean, Virat Kohli, it was more like when he didn't do well for RCB, people were mad. That's like a usual thing. But with Hardik Pandya, it was like,
Yeah,
you know what happened, the way he moved from GT to MI, and then the whole captaincy thing. And I
yeah,
think all of that is forgotten. Like, it's really amazing to see, like, when Rohit Rohit like just goes and hugs Hardik Pandya right after the game,
yeah, yeah.
and like he's like literally sobbing. Like that is like the pinnacle of watching
Exactly,
the sport. It
exactly.
is
So
that is what sports is, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah, and that none of that is like, it's not like, oh, you have to do this. It just happened, and
yeah.
that's the beauty of it.
That's what. So it's funny because whenever, of course, whenever anybody is playing for Team India, we're all cheering for them. But the moment they put on the jerseys for their IPL teams, then it's like, "Arey, I don't want you to play well on when you play my team." So it's the same. Like, same thing with Virat Kohli. Like, he gets trolled so much online over about RCB not winning. But of course, when he's playing for Team India, of course, every single match, everybody is praying for him to get a 50 or a 100. And it was probably the reverse. Oh no, it's the same for Hardik as well. So Hardik, he got trolled, he got booed so much this last season
By his
over,
own team.
yeah,
Yeah,
by
by
his
his own
own
team.
fan base, which is like a unheard of instance. Uh,
That's
but
also part of the culture, toxicity.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
toxicity,
guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
that comes as a package.
yeah.
yeah.
When like you have lots of expectations for your team, and then they don't meet what you expect, you get toxic sometimes, which is always not pretty, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think toxicity again stems from like the love for the franchise. You know, like because people loved him at Mumbai Indians, they didn't want to see him go leave for Gujarat Titans. And the same with Gujarat Titans. He built a very good, rapport, two finals in 2 years, which is a crazy achievement.
And 1-1.
Yeah, they won once, and in the
Yeah.
second one, I was rooting for them to win on the last ball, but Jadeja did Jadeja things, and you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, two finals in 2 years is a big achievement, and of course, that's why he got so much love from the city of Gujarat Titans as well. But
Yeah.
whatever happened since then, about Rohit being stripped of captaincy, then a forced move back to Mumbai Indians, all of that didn't go down very well with either of the teams. So that's why the boos happened. But yeah, I mean, what he did today with crazy death polling, he held his nerve, he kept his calm, and now that he won India the trophy, I'm sure you know the next time he steps onto any ground in India, there won't be any booze for him.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's from vacillating fan bases to being on the same vantage points, I suppose. Like people keep jumping back and forth for the like when it comes to a player, and then when suddenly
Hmm.
they, I guess that come like I said, comes as a part and parcel when it
Yeah,
comes to
it's
supporting
yeah when they're
any
wearing
sort
your
of sport. Right? I suppose this can be extended for. I don't follow football, but I can
hmm.
imagine there might be really pissed off Manchester fans when the team doesn't do well,
Of course.
right? Again, I do not know. I don't follow football. I might be
Yeah,
accurately
Yeah,
far
uh,
away, but
at
yeah,
least for
it
EPL,
follows.
based on what I see in cricket, I presume like the toxicity for like EPL players is much more when they lose.
yeah,
English
yeah,
fans are
And
absolutely.
like very
but
vocal.
yeah, but they get paid quite a lot.
They get
So
paid also quite a lot. No, I
I
but
don't
no,
think so.
mean,
I
but
think. Hmm.
my point being that it's that's the culture of sport nowadays.
Hmm.
It's more of you have enthusiastic fans, and with enthusiasm comes criticisms, and with well you fans are just sitting there eagerly waiting for results. When you chalk it down to probability, one day or the other their team will have, hopefully RCB also gets that before the heat death of the universe. But no, that's all the eagerness of the fans, and it's how a sport grows. The more enthusiastic a fan base is, the more enthusiastic a tournament is, and the more uh, riddled with such differing and vivid vivid culture a particular
Hmm.
tournament has. I guess that's how it grows.
Yeah.
So
Um. Again, I think to continue of what you said. This in the EPL, it's like quite bigger also. Like I feel, probably pay wise, EPL and Premier IPL players are probably paid the same because it is such. I mean, IPL has become such a big thing now. But in EPL, or like in football, the seasons are like 9 months long. They start in like August, they end in like May. So um, the teams are playing basically all around the year. Okay, and in football, there's this thing called season tickets. So there are fans, dedicated hardcore fans, who are seeing their team every weekend. They're making trips, 2 hour road trips to another city just to watch their team play. So the following of football in Europe is massive, and this is just EPL is just like happening in England, right? There are these
yeah,
leagues are
yeah.
happening all across Europe. So um, the following is so massive, and again, going back to what I said, um, none of these teams are actually a living thing. They're just organizations that run the team. But because there is so much history, these things have been going on for like 70, 80 years, because there's so much history, there's so much winning. I mean, teams have won so much over the past 80 years that people people believe that they want to see their team win again. And that is why what people want to see their teams win. And that's why it's such a like big deal, for to buy season tickets, to travel, to give the time commitment to go to another city and watch the team play. Um,
Yeah.
so this is just football. Any other sport that you guys can think of?
Um, no,
I mean,
I
I guess again the concept of I don't know how uh, the Western world sees uh, their version of Super Bowl. I guess that's their major competition.
Yeah.
That remains recondite to me because I don't really follow again like I said, the number of sports I follow is actually laughable. But but what I would assume is a similar thing to, uh, have a pattern across the world. And me, since right now I am in Europe and
Hmm.
the Euro Cup is going on, I hope I
Yes.
said that right.
Yeah.
The closest thing to this whole culture, the whole topic of culture, I actually witnessed that firsthand here when there was, I guess it was the Netherlands who played.
Yeah, I
Was
think
it the Netherlands?
Netherlands with
A
with
bunch of I don't know. There were it was fans who had orange jerseys. I don't know which country it was. They were playing a game in Hamburg, and the streets were filled by the people from that nation.
yeah.
And it was actually really, like, I don't see this in, I mean, it would be crazy if you'd have seen this in, for example, Bangalore, because, well, considering the amount of traffic that's already
Hmm.
there, and if you
Yeah.
add the fans to that as well, then oh boy. But yeah, the streets were filled with I
Orange,
am
right?
assuming, yeah, the
Yeah, I saw
Netherlands
that video
fans,
too. Yeah.
I
and they
mean,
were all chanting and singing and things like that. And I'm assuming it should follow a similar pattern across the world, whether
we
it's
Yeah.
football, whether it's cricket, whether it's
Yeah. Yeah.
we saw this
rugby.
in Bangalore when RCB beat CSK and went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they weren't. Yeah, sure.
I also saw this on the Boxing Day Test match. So it was you know Australia versus Pakistan, and Pakistan they have like a group of 500 supporters who they travel to every game that Pakistan plays internationally. So it's crazy because having witnessed this on first hand, they have crazy slogans that they chant before every match, and it's a friendly banter. So like a group of Pakistani supporters would come and a group of Aussie supporters would come. They would sing back and forth, and it is just healthy. Like nobody is being disrespectful. Nobody is what do you say, uh, doing any sort of violence or anything. It is just both the sides, they have their own slogans and they're just singing their slogan proudly. So when I witnessed it for the first time, it was crazy. Like there is a real sense of belonging when you're singing the same songs and you're cheering for the same team.
Yeah. I I think the closest I've been to that experience is like I went to like a NFL game for the Steelers here
Oh,
in
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh.
Steelers. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that happens in football is whenever you're on defense,
Hmm.
people start like making a lot of noise because they don't want the team on the offense. If the team against you is on offense, they don't want them to like be able
Score.
to,
Yeah.
no, not score, but yeah, I guess that's the end goal, not let them score. But
Yeah.
so they talk to their coaches throughout the game,
Hmm.
and they start doing tactics and all that stuff. The more noise the crowd makes, the harder it is for them to listen. I don't
Hmm.
know if that's true anymore with all the technology, but it was certainly true like back in the day, and like people still make sound. I guess that's how like that culture was created, right? Like
Yeah.
every time your
Hmm.
home team goes to offense, like the stadium just goes pin drop silence.
Yeah.
But as soon as like your opponent is like going on offense, they start making noise, they start banging the advertisement boards,
Yeah.
also everything they can, like the noise is insane.
Yeah, I
And
think yeah, a similar thing also happened in the soccer World Cup last year. So um, whenever like you don't want the opponent to score in soccer, there have been recent cases that people are not throwing, they're projecting laser um on the person.
mhm.
Whenever they're taking a penalty or something. So yeah, I mean, sporting cultures are good, but it can get toxic. Like like
Yeah, I
again,
mean,
we
this is
I
more of
think
fan base stupidity than
I think
anything else.
I think making noise to make sure the other team can't hear tactics is like more like feeling you're helping your team out. But
Yeah,
like shooting lasers at
Yeah,
a
that's
player,
just
stuff like that is like purely obstructing them from playing the game, which
yeah,
is not good.
yeah. Like
I
if you
don't
see,
think
hmm,
I don't think these two things should be put on the same level, is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. Like one is acceptable level of disturbance. Second one's unacceptable, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. I guess what would be what is the differentiating factor is uh, sportsmanship is limit. Like, here's the thing, right? Sportsmanship is defined and is most certainly limited within the field of play, but it is not limited to the fans. And so
Yeah.
when there are fans of opposing sides and you ask them to be sportsmanlike, that's not going to
Hmm.
happen because they're fans.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it bewilders me to a point where I'm like, come on, like, you want a good game out of this, you must let both teams equal. But that's not. I also understand that's not fair to ask because there is a bias. You have to support
Yeah.
one team, and so
That,
you would
Yeah.
go
Like
to
that.
any
That'll
extent.
always be a case because one team is a home team, one team is an away team, right?
I mean, that's why you get equal away and home games, so there's no complaining there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
you should
the
have good
point
fans.
is exactly that's my point. Like the concept of sportsmanship seems to be limited to the boundary.
Yeah, it
And you
is.
can't, there is no controllable factor outside the boundary line. You
Yep.
can't find the fans, can you?
What's funny is that with franchises, not international level stuff, like franchises, players keep changing teams all the time.
Yeah.
Fans, for the most part, won't, right? But players keep changing. But
But
fans are
huh.
so involved and like, uh, like doing all sorts of shit, but players just don't care and they'll move anyway. So I
Yep.
guess it's easier to be sportsman-like when I guess you may not have that level of commitment towards your team, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
And
Some players will, like for example, in Virat Kohli or Chris Gale, who played for RCB, like for the most part, like players like those will have commitment, but there will be players. I don't know, like
No,
I
it's
can't name
the
a name, but
yeah, it's the generational players who, stick with their team,
yeah,
Steph Curry with Warriors,
yeah,
Harry Kane with Tottenham, and Virat Kohli with RCB. Um, it's like these generational players, they want they will they want to be raised and die by the same team, right? So Kohli,
yeah.
he debuted with RCB and he's still with RCB, and I'm sure he is going to retire with RCB as well. It's just some players value the loyalty a lot more than the money.
Yep.
Yeah. So moving on to the final part, how do you think, like, again, it's similar to what we discussed, how do you think sports is like more than just entertainment? What do you think?
Um, it depends. Like I think franchisee sports like is more entertainment than like following. But yeah,
Following, huh?
there is like I think it's like more like a 60-40. Like it's more entertaining and also like there are people who are crazy fans. Like for example, I am a crazy RCB fan, and
Hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm a crazy RCB fan. But
Hmm.
there are some people who watch IPL for the pure entertainment, like stuff like IPL, right? Like you saw
Yeah.
this year's IPL, it is like there were so many sixes and like we
Yeah. This
everyone
is
thought the game is changing and all
yeah.
that. And like
Yeah.
T20 World Cup was truly an eye opener. Like
Yeah.
one of the highest scores was like today.
Yeah.
Like
Actually, yeah.
179 is like, oh wait, maybe I'm getting the score wrong, but 170 something
No,
is
I
not
think
like
a few
a
teams
big.
did score 200. Yeah,
Yeah, there
it's
was
not
one
right, but yeah, scores were
206
like
score. But
they
yeah,
were
there one,
definitely not IPL level scores, man. Like
yeah,
IPL level scores, every week the records were changing. Every week some new records were being written. So yeah, this season IPL was pure entertainment.
yes. I
Um,
mean, I think it is important to also be entertainment. Like it can,
hmm,
so that's how you bring more people to come and watch and be excited about the game.
hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I
but
think,
it
yeah.
shouldn't take away like what fans actually support, right? Like they've been with their teams for so long, and
Hmm.
like you can't let like entertainment take over that.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's more than just, it's not like watching a movie for people. It's more than
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I think franchise cricket is entertaining, um, purely because of business reasons. Franchise cricket does should, I mean, it is not necessary for franchise or like franchise sports to exist, but because people have demand and business is suitable for that, franchise cricket exists. But I feel like, I'm just to talk about sports, I feel like sports is very, it's more than just like views and entertainment. Like, for example, today, we saw India winning the World Cup, and that's when I realized that, oh wow, it's actually been 11 years since we last won a trophy. And go and just looking back, 11 years is a very long time. The la-
Yeah.
the last time we won a trophy, it was Champions Trophy in 2013.
Yeah.
And at that time, Rohit was just bursting on to the scene, and Kohli was a well-established guy for the future at that time. And now here they are, stalwarts of Indian cricket, Hall of Famers and everything.
Mm.
So when you see what it really means to Kohli, and what when you see what this victory means for Rohit, you feel so much joy for them, because you know the emotions that came out on their faces, it is pure, it's very, it's pure, and what is it, it's very joyous, and it's not scripted, entertainment. Movies and everything, those movies and books, they are scripted. But when a person's genuinely happy, you sort of genuinely feel happy for them, that that this is the career that you've had, so you really deserve this ending to your career, and all that. And this is not franchise cricket, this is normal cricket. We saw Kapil Dev lifting the trophy for India in 1983, and it inspired so many people. It inspired Saurav Ganguly, it inspired an MS Dhoni, it inspired a Sachin Tendulkar. And that that will always be like a very hallmark, what do you say, event for Indian cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess what I think is, well, it's more of a very superficial take.
Hmm.
Um, when you say sports more than entertainment, what I am going to mention is obviously not limited to, but extends to more than this.
Hmm.
I'm thinking of mostly from two perspectives.
Hmm.
One is from the player perspective, or people who play the sport,
Hmm.
who are
Hmm.
involved in it, and
Hmm.
from a fan following or a
Hmm.
country that follows the sport perspective.
Hmm.
And talking about the latter case first, I feel like it serves as a very good way of distraction from all the uh, negative
Negative
things that are,
Yeah.
yeah, that are happening all around them. And
Hmm.
I guess the best example is, again, we keep going back to the cricket cricketing
Hmm.
examples and juxtaposing our
Hmm.
podcast with that, because
Hmm.
I feel like Afghanistan, when they finally beat a big name in terms of the game,
Hmm.
it not only just it was not only a win for the team, but it almost seemed liberating for the fans and the people of that
And the
country.
country,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and with all the things that the country has been going through, it
Yeah.
seems to give them a spell of joy and a spell of relief for
Yeah.
a momentary occasion, to a point where they were in the semifinals almost. They were in the
They
semifinals
were in
almost.
semi-final,
Yeah,
exactly.
and so, and you can also make the same case for, I guess, Ukraine, where things are not looking great, right?
Yeah.
And so sporting usually just brings that out, and that is more of a very, from
Hmm.
a uh, superficial and a very high level take. And if you think about it from the player's perspective, not just people who play a sport professionally, but also casual fans who play a sport,
Hmm.
they any sort of sport is serves to be a distraction at the end of the day, right? It
Hmm.
is not to be taken too seriously. Yes, a lot is on the line if it's a tournament when you're playing for your country, but
Hmm.
in general, it's more of a frivolous activity that you do so that
Hmm.
most of your worries are kept at bay and you just enjoy y- employing your skills and making them come together and trying to mm, find some sort of connection with what you're trying to with at least not trying to stay disconnected from all the bad things and
Yeah.
trying to be connected with a positive world. That's what I'm
Hmm.
trying to say. So sporting, again, like I said, is not limited to what I just said as a form of entertainment. It extends to things like uh, uh, finding a sense of unity
Hmm.
to anywhere from just trying to bring people together and
Hmm.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I mean, so far what we've talked about is, basically, team sports, but, um, you know, there are athletics, for example. Athletics is like a sport which is, again, it doesn't have a massive following because, you can't make a franchise out of athletics or something. But, what athletics really is, it pushes the boundaries of what a human can do with their body. It can be anything. It can be a running event. It can be shot put event, a javelin event. Um, so, sports is, what do you say? For the athlete, of course they want to breaking a we have the Olympics coming up, by the way. For an athlete, of course he would want to have the world record or like break his personal best and have that on his name. So what I mean to say is, for example, when Neeraj Chopra won the Olympics gold, or when Sindhu won the bronze medal or the gold medal, I guess. um, it was again like it was such a big deal for the whole country because there are so many young boys and girls looking up to a Neeraj Chopra, looking up to a PV Sindhu, a Saina Nehwal, um, and wanting to become a badminton player or like a javelin thrower themselves. And you know these little victories are just going to add up, um, and make the whole country a better sporting country. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, since you brought up athletics and stuff, so you said something about like not being a team sport. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like tennis is quite famous, even though it's not a team sport, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I don't, maybe the way athletics are being done right now is not like really pushing it to more people to watch. I don't know. Like Olympics happens, like I'm not sure. Uh, do you guys know like once how many years?
It happens every 4 years.
Every
For
4 years,
Hmm.
which is a long time, right? And like yeah, people watch the Olympics, and
Hmm.
there's a lot going on during the Olympics, and like
Hmm.
so you might not catch everything, but
Hmm.
So
if
you're
like
saying you want a franchised RCB that does
not
Olympics?
not franchise, it doesn't have to be franchise. We can have like athletic stuff that's done more often, right? And like
No, no. The thing is, it does happen. That's the thing. We are not aware of it, or like it's not marketed very well. But
yeah.
for athletics, there is this thing called Diamond Leagues, and I think it
Hmm.
happens every year or every 2 years. So every 2 years, these track and field events are happening. Tennis, it happens every year. We have the four, big Grand Slams:
Right.
Australian, French, Wimbledon, and US. Uh, but yeah, going back to the same thing, like individual sports, you can't make a franchise out of individual sports because
Yo,
Yeah,
no
you
joke. Why can't you do that? Like, imagine there's like a franchise for a javelin throw, and like
but
there's an RCB team. Like the whole fan for not the whole. I say that out of, but there could be. Imagine a world where that happens.
I mean,
That would
I can
A, be
see.
pretty funny, and B, it would actually spell disaster. It might actually not spell disaster for RCB considering they won the WPL. But hey, they
Yeah.
might have another trophy other than the actual IPL trophy. So
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, it is possible, but yeah, I mean, for sure, RCB can become something bigger, and they can start scouting for young athletes, and help them in their careers and everything. Um,
yeah, maybe like a mini Olympics of sorts for
I'm
like
just I'm just
franchising.
thinking I'm not even thinking in terms of franchises. I'm just
mm,
thinking in terms of even like international tournaments, right? Why aren't they so
Yeah,
famous?
true.
Maybe it's not famous to us because I
we are.
don't think there's a lot
mm,
of athletes going out of India who are really good. Yeah, we do have really good ones like Neeraj Chopra or Sindhu and Saina Nehwal,
Mary
whoever
Com.
went.
Yeah.
But it's not, yeah, Mary Com, and it's not like we have a ton of people who we can
yeah,
follow, right? And
yeah,
like that's probably why we don't know about the other tournaments. We just know about the Olympics.
This brings
yeah,
back the topic of culture here, right? So I
yeah,
feel like it all depends on how the history of the country
yeah,
is being modeled, and
yeah,
how or was shaped, and how different cultures come together and they somehow unanimously enjoy a single sport, right? It's going
mm,
to take probably another paradigm shift in the next few decades or so, for example, say India to be invested in I don't know. Maybe the next sport that I can see is, and since we are going towards the a little off topic and not off topic, a little away from team sports, is probably chess. Considering the number
mm,
of
yeah,
grandmasters who are emerging from India, I feel like that might be a sport where people might be more invested as time goes on, and
mm,
like the landscapes might
yeah. There,
inevitably
yeah, there
change.
also, Vishwanathan Anand, he inspired so many players to take up chess, right?
Uh, so with chess, uh, I see people appreciating the people who go out and play and like win, but I think there'll be very few people who actually watch it and like appreciate it because it requires a lot more from
Time.
you. It's not just time, it also requires you to understand what's going on in the game, which
Mm.
is much harder
Like
since it's
it's
not a
much hard.
physical sport. Like when you
Yeah.
watch when you watch football or like cricket, you just be like, oh, he hit a boundary or he scored a goal,
Mm.
and you can sometimes look really cool like doing those things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is something that you get applause for. Like, but when
I
you
think,
look at
yeah.
chess,
Yeah,
there's
I think, yeah,
unless you understand the game, there's
mm,
not nothing really cool
yeah.
going on.
Like it's not a flashy sport. In all
Yeah.
other
I mean,
other
that brings us back to the same point, right? Like, why wasn't, for example, baseball why isn't baseball famous in India, or why isn't cricket famous in
I mean,
the US, right?
baseball
Like, no, the
baseball's
point I'm
not
trying to
famous
make
because
is,
it's not a majorly played sport like around the world. Like
yeah,
I
there's
know
it's
you're trying to
Japan
it's a
and
very
US.
American sport.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that it's like the complexity of a sport comes into picture, and dude, cricket is a pretty complex sport. I'm not going to lie. Not as
Yeah.
complex as chess, right? But with the number of rules that there are,
Third umpires and
yeah, it's a
It's
little more complex than most of the other
it
sports. For example, say football, right?
it is
yeah.
They're more,
complex, but also there's the parts that people like are not complicated. Like a
yeah,
wicket
that's true.
breaking or
That's
someone
that's
hitting
what
a huge
that's
six.
the thing.
That's what like a lot of
It's
majority of
more
the
of,
people care about.
yeah,
Like no
but that
one cares about like, oh, what is the pitch condition? Or like in West
correct.
Indies, like, oh, if I'm on the other side, the wind is blowing towards my leg side and it'll be easier for me to hit. Like
Yeah, no, that's
most
true.
people
Yeah,
don't even think about those things, right? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people who are not like extremely into the sport but enjoy like
Casual
watching their
fans.
teams play and like watching, like let's say when you're watching uh Chris Gale hit like a huge six or something.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's what
Yep.
people are going for, most people at least.
Exactly, and that's how I feel like, if cultures, like if a particular nation's culture is going to change over time,
Mm,
which may not happen in the next 10 years, may not happen in the next 20 years, right? This
Mm.
is like me saying in the next 100 years,
Yeah.
the the color of the sky might change a little
right.
bit, right?
I
But which will happen, and in which case it completely depends on how and what factors affected and things like that. And so at the end of the day, like the reason why, coming back to the point of why athletics is not being so 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 much of a hot topic, is
right.
mostly to do with like the point which you just said. It doesn't seem to be as flashy,
But
as eye catching as a sport like cricket to a culture of India.
right.
Yeah.
That's the
But
caveat.
looking, so the reason I brought up athletics is when compared to something like chess, right? Athletics is still flashy. Like
Yeah.
javelin throwing is flashy, and
Yeah.
how far it can go, like I don't know. Like maybe if you can like improve the graphics and all that stuff, like like they have now in cricket, they even measure like how loud the crowd is cheering or whatever. If
Yeah.
you can like show interesting statistics while a javelin is moving or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
uh
But yeah, I think we took a very, what do you say? We took very different examples from, we went from chess to like something very flashy as you know, cricket and
Yeah, but the
football.
common thing is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
that they are not as flashy of not flashy, not as followed of
Yeah.
as cricket, right? So
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah.
common
mm,
factor
Yeah. And also
amongst the
like
many different shading
chess as a
points.
sport, like you to again to appreciate chess, you also need to like have an understanding of chess. Like, if you know
As
if
opposed to
like,
cricket, I
yeah,
suppose.
cricket is like you a, no, a normal person can understand cricket better than chess, I feel, because chess needs like
okay,
That's a
you
good
need to
here's
take.
read the game, right? You
okay
need to
here's
read.
the here's the deal. Like
Mhm.
with cricket, you can enjoy it knowing that, oh, I need to either hit these many runs to win, or
Yeah.
like I have to
Yeah,
get this
that's
team out
true.
within this many runs to win.
Mhm.
But with chess, it's not enough to know how each piece moves.
Yeah,
So
it's like chess is
that's
just
the
like watching a
difference.
movie. Like, okay, he did
Yeah,
this
no,
happened, this happened,
that
this happened, and okay, ultimately this person wins.
that's true. I mean, like I said, the complexity of a sport also comes into play, but that again might change as cultures develop. I
Yeah.
suppose
Yeah,
people might shift towards things that are more,
got it.
complex.
And uh
People are more profound. Not saying that. I'm not saying that following cricket makes you less profound. I'm just
right.
just pulling just pulling the people pulling the legs of people who listen to this.
I have like this I guess bonus thing that I want to discuss, and I want to hear your
Yeah.
opinions on this. Uh what about like football in India? Like it wasn't that like there were people who followed it like
Hmm.
from a long time, but everyone would follow like EPL or like
Yeah.
the European leagues, right?
Yeah.
Now we have our own football league, and we also have the Indian team who almost like if they had beat Qatar,
Hmm.
would have probably qualified to FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
Uh, so do you guys see the hype increasing for football, like more people following
Yeah.
football? And maybe like I might be dreaming. It might not even happen in my lifetime, but if it happens, amazing. Like
Hmm.
how India winning a 1983 World Cup, right? Like it
Hmm.
changed how India plays cricket, and like
Hmm.
we have like the strong, like probably one of the strongest teams in cricket now. Like,
Hmm.
do you see that happening for football ever?
Um, so I feel like, again, like India has a very massive following of football, but as a team, uh, you know, we are improving as a team, as a country, we are improving in football. But again, like there are multiple things that affect it, right? Like the viewership of Premier League in India will always be greater than like the I Indian League in India, because it's because the quality of football is much better in the Premier League. And why is the quality of football not as good in the Indian League? Because uh, you know the players that are signed, they are not of the same quality. And that again goes back to the eyeballs, like because not many people watch the Indian League, the teams aren't able to sign the best talent. And because the teams aren't able to sign the best talent, the local Indian players, they are not they are getting, again, they are getting better at a slower pace. So for
Right.
example, if Indian players get a chance to play in any of the European countries, of course they're going to get better because the quality of football is better in Europe.
Hmm.
So again, like in qualification, again, the Asian, India plays in the Asian tournament, right? So again, as a whole of Asia also, there aren't uh, like the best quality teams are just South Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Australia. So even these teams aren't as good as Europe. So there are so many things. Like if you ask me, can an Asian country ever win the World Cup? I feel like the answer is no, because South America and Europe will always be better at it because they have so much history. Like the first 4 or 5 champions were from South America, and slowly it migrated to Europe, and Europe is dominating that. And that's the thing. So again, India qualifying to Football World Cup will be a massive story, but you know winning the World Cup is pretty far.
Hmm.
Even get to qualifying to the World Cup is pretty far, I feel, because of so many reasons.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe we don't have like enough funding uh to
Yeah,
actually scout
it's not about
talent
funding
and like
also. Like
get
it's about,
actually training them, right?
yeah, it's about the viewership and the you know like people also need to pursue sports, right?
Hmm.
um and I think I listened to an Hardik Pandya interview, and somebody was asking him, why did you choose cricket, when you were an athlete? He chose cricket because cricket has money. So if a young you know Indian boy or an Indian girl is looking to pursue a sport,
Hmm.
the default answer is, their idols are Kohli and Smriti Mandana. So if you watch them more, the by default inclination is to pursue the sport that has money.
Right.
So cricket, there's so much money for cricket in India, but there's not so much money for cricket and football. So of course, the what do you say, the talent will be less. But of course, there are so many passionate people who want to pursue football, right? That will always be the case for all sports. But getting better at it, getting wanting to improve in that sport needs a lot of conscious efforts from from the whole culture, from like the whole country itself.
Right.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yep. So
uh
any um
I don't know,
last
esports in India.
East, oh yeah,
Oh, I have a case for that.
I think
I have
like
a
so
I have a case for that.
yeah, I
yes,
want
go
to
on
say
with you.
something before Vidyuth says something.
Okay, sure.
uh I think esports uh could be a huge thing in India,
I think so
mainly
too.
because it's like low investment
Yeah.
and you can just watch like the best play anytime. It's not like like if I want to be a cricketer and want to watch Virat Kohli play in the nets, it's gonna be hard. But
Hmm.
like watching Virat Kohli play live on television versus watching him play in the nets is different, right? Uh,
Correct.
but with the esports, I can watch someone on Twitch and it is the same as watching them like sitting right next to them. Uh, you can learn easily. You have access to a computer. That's all you need. Uh, I guess, uh, yeah, you can start from there with youth. I think esports can be big.
Esports are. I am telling you, I feel like that's probably where the sport industry might be heading towards, at least in India, because I feel, considering how a country is growing, people are going to have more access to technology, and
Internet.
inevitably the internet, yes, and inevitably they would be
I,
introduced
I want
to
to
gaming.
I want to interrupt you for a second. Speaking of internet, uh, when I first started playing online games when I was like 8 years old, I would play on this BSNL connection, and there weren't really servers in India. They were like Singapore, whatever. I would play at like 150, 200 ping, like play
Mm.
CS or Dota. Dota was then just like a map in Warcraft. And like I would play those at 150, 200 pings. Like kids these days, like they complain about like having 50 ping, and I'm like, okay, fine.
Sure.
You sound like that one parent who tells their kid that, back in my day I
I,
used to
I
walk
am
through
I used to
exactly
7
cross a
doing
miles.
that
river
is
and go
that
to
is
school.
exactly what I'm saying. I used to play
But
on a
no, I get it.
BSNL
But I
BSNL
guess
150 ping.
connection.
How did you manage to survive that, Vishnu? My God.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that I'm just trying to like more than like what my experience was. I'm just trying to say like how far we have come. I can play on a Mumbai server. I can play Valorant or CS with 8 ping, 10 ping now, and that's how far we have come. So that's how accessible esports is. Like you can play it competitively.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely, that's true, because like I said, with how generally how the world is growing, and also how the country is growing, people are going to have more access to, also the population is going to be more or less towards the teenagers who are going towards their 20s and things like that, and like it's relatively young, and so people are going to be impressionable towards the gaming industry. And I feel, if marketed properly, and an instance of this which I kind of liked was how Riot Games is doing when it comes to Valorant, and they are marketing the game properly in India, because
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know about the other sports, I mean other games, but I feel like Valorant has taken a very strong leg when in India, because to have, first of all, having a server for it, like in India. Secondly, having an agent and a map, who both of which are pretty much very much consequential, even in pro play,
Mm.
and seeing people all over the world appreciate how things are being designed when it comes to the culture in general. And finally having a team of its own in the major Valorant league, that is global
Yeah.
esports,
Yeah.
albeit not doing that great, and hence the very salty fans. But no, but the point being is, it, it it's a strong case for esports to be a growing industry, when it, at least if not now, in the future.
Mm.
So yeah, speaking of marketing, like how good is the mural in Mumbai for Valorant? Like that's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, yeah, I don't know if you guys had seen this, but I had seen this once. Uh, I don't know if it's even there in the internet now, but in Bangalore, in the near Madiwala, I believe there was a billboard, not a billboard, like the bridge, the walkover bridge. I don't know what you call it when
Yeah,
people
yeah. It
walk
was
over.
a billboard over the walkover bridge,
Yeah,
and it had like
yeah,
harbor
it was.
advertisements.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh,
what?
I'm not aware of this.
I'm
Yeah, that
like,
was
that threw me off guard, and B, it was
yeah.
like, that is cool. It's cool
Uh,
that they're actually putting so much effort, because that's how you're supposed to advertise. If you remember, that's how at least IPL in the very first stages was advertised, and the only reason IPL was having so much fan following is because cricket was the flavor, and is the flavor, and will be the flavor for a long time to come, and B, the the sheer number of outstanding players who are involved from all over the world who came together to make that festival happen was the reason. But trying to replicate that even in a very small scale is a big step, in my opinion.
Hmm.
For because sometimes taking that one small step in any wake of life, whether it's trying to just market a company, or whether you just want to do, you as a person want to do something new, trying to take that first step is probably the most difficult one. And I feel like Riot Games did a good job by actually marketing Valorant to the Indian audience, because you're
Hmm.
getting a lot attention, and you're getting a lot of cringe fans, but at the
Yeah.
same time you're also getting lots of
Yeah.
talented
Yeah.
players
So
from
that's the
the
thing,
Indian
right? So
servers.
um like marketing, like the Indian fans, they are of course a large in in numbers, and this large in numbers will ultimately help build on or like create a better representation in the pro play as well. And I'm sure there will be Indian teams in in the esports championships pretty soon.
Yep. And
There was already a CS:GO team. I think there
it
were
was a top
a
deck.
lot of teams that they went on to play, like they won the qualifiers, went on to play like big leagues, but they
Oh, hold on a
they
second,
kind of
wasn't,
lost.
sorry,
Sorry.
wasn't yeah, wasn't there recently an esports organization from India that won, I guess, Call of Duty? I don't remember. I probably have to check that. I'll let you continue your point. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there have been cases where like Indian teams went on to the first round or something, lost to a big team. I I don't think the problem is like getting to the those tournaments. At this point, it is like, how do you be better? How do you like?
Yeah.
I think it requires us learning from those big teams actually, how they do strats and stuff like that, and like I don't know, hire a coach from uh I it's not like people in India don't know better or something, but right now I don't think like anyone's been to a point where they're able to coach teams in India. So we should probably
That's
hire,
true.
like Indian teams should hire coaches from like
That's true.
other countries, but probably players who have been there, done that, right? Like
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
exactly what global esports is doing right now, I
yeah,
believe.
so I
And
think
they have, I guess, they have a few players who are. Uh, there is an issue right now within global esports, at least from the fan base perspective, where people are kind of pissed with the fact that they have more foreign or like more international players than the Indian players, and they are not performing as good as they would have expected. And people are like, if they're going to perform pretty bad, why not put Indians who will perform pretty bad as well? And at least there would be the representation of Indians. But no, the point being, yes, it's happening. That's a very promising thing. And I guess one yeah, I guess the other important factor here is, for example, if you have to get good in or like be very skillful, or even excel at a sport, like Pallav mentioned, you probably both of you mentioned, actually, you probably need coaches. Like, for example, if you want to get good in cricket or football, you probably need to go to a coaching institute, or you need to hire a coach, and that's an expensive affair. But
Hmm.
and when it comes to developing skills online, it's probably much cheaper. Like, the amount of money you spend to get skilled in a particular, or get trained in a particular sport, is cheaper, and b, it's probably more accessible than uh, all the other sports. However, you do have the issue of, well, the number of teams that are actually playing is very, very limited. And so the chance of you being a part of that team is going to be very low. But you can actually toss that coin for either side, because if you want to go become a part of, for example, the Indian cricket team, you probably have the same amount of chance as you being a part of the Indian, I don't know, esport organization. So
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
I have nothing else. I think I've
yeah.
had my share of sports talk for today.
Yeah. Um, so to wrap up, what we all said, sports, is, of course, it is essentially, what do you say? It is a form of entertainment. It is a form of expression. It is a form of skill. But ultimately, um, you know, the businesses, or like the franchise sports, they are better off. They create healthy or toxic rivalries. And but ultimately, sports inspire people, man. They lead people into believing, or rooting for their favorite teams. So yeah, that's about it. Any last words to close out the episode?
RCB. Okay, I'm done.
Of course, RCB all the way. Oh, we won the women's IPL trophy
oh
this
yeah,
year, and
that's
I
yeah, that
remember, I remember the scenes. People were out there dancing till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is literally the second season of the women's league, and having seen people celebrate that, of course, the RCB women's fans were the fans that migrated from the RCB men's fans, but to see the celebration of like to see the celebration in the city. I mean, I'm sure everybody felt
yeah.
good
I
about it.
mean, people were happy that RCB finally has a trophy,
Yeah,
right? It
exactly.
doesn't matter where it is. That goes to show how people are more. It goes to show one of two things, right?
Hmm.
Either people are extremely uh, supportive of a franchise, no matter
Hmm.
where what sport they do. They're
Hmm.
It's like that one parent who keeps encouraging you, doing everything well, and like no
I
matter
think
what
it's
you
all
do.
parents who encourage their child to do better. So I think,
No, what I mean to say is
huh,
that parent encourages you to do everything possible. For example, if you're going to go break a windshield, the parent
huh.
goes like, hey, go ahead, do that. But no, but what I mean to say is like, the fans are extremely supportive that way. That is the one side of things. The other side of things, it's more like a relief. They're like, finally, we have something to keep in that cabinet that's been gathering dust and moths.
That is one way of looking at it. The way I look at it is, people, myself included, myself and Vishnu included, there's so much of my emotional investment going into RCB every game that they play. I'm spending my time to be happy to see them win. So to see all of that finally come to fruition with a trophy in the women's IPL was,
Yeah,
it
I
made me
mean,
happy.
I wish for one final thing. Like, I wish the women cricket in general picks up a lot more.
I think it
I
will.
feel like it's lost. Just I feel like in the beginning there was some enthusiasm with it. Now I feel like it's just capped at a certain limit, and it has somehow lost the steam to go further. I
Hmm.
know one could say that okay, it's not as quote unquote explosive as men's cricket, but at the end of the day it's still like, I guess today, who was it? See, I can't even remember who it was. There was a century hit by someone in today's test match, India versus South Africa women's test match in today or yesterday. I
Hmm.
don't remember.
Hmm.
And I guess that they had scored the highest in a test match.
Yeah, yeah.
So things
Correct.
like that go under the radar when you're
Yeah.
obviously when there is a World Cup that's going on, but
Yeah.
that inevitably happens. But in general, even if it wouldn't have happened, I don't think it would have picked up as much steam as, for example, say Rishabh Pant scoring a double century. People were
Hmm.
like, oh wow, Rishabh Pant is scoring a double century versus,
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know, Shafali Verma getting like 150 in a test match. So
Yeah.
I just hope the women's side of things do pick up, because goddamn, they're all fantastic players. Because you have people who are looking up to Kohli,
Hmm.
while playing at his caliber. And it goes to show that, sometimes skills, no matter how much you have it, can only be honed out further if you have support. And
Hmm.
go to your work, fans. Go support RCB or CS. I
Hmm.
don't know if there's a CSK women's team, but RCB or Delhi women's team. Go do that.
Yeah.
Like, they're as good as the men's team.
Yeah.
All I can say is that as long as they play at Chinnaswamy, there's always going to be a full
There
crowd.
will always be 100% sellout the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because the ground is small. Come on, guys, grow out of this mentality.
What?
That's not true. Um, okay, I think anyways, that is up for another day for discussion. Um, anyways, thank you all for joining in this episode. This is Vidyuth, Vishnu, and me wrapping up. I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See ya.